Hello friends, how's it going today? Whee! So, what's up? Hey, ever wondered what energy is? Well, it is the ability to do work. Wanna know more about energy? Come on then, zoom in!
Chapter 5 Cellular Respiration and Fermentation.
Let's understand what exactly the difference between the two is. To begin with, I want you to answer one simple question. How do we get the energy to perform all activities? Most of us will answer from the food we eat, right? Well, that's partially correct. The food we eat is the source of energy, which means that the energy is stored or locked inside the food. In order to unlock or derive the energy from it, the food needs to be broken down. And this requires oxygen. So we can say that the process in which the food is broken down in the cells with the help of oxygen to release energy is called respiration. And how is it different from breathing then? Well, breathing does not involve breakdown of food molecules inside the cells. In fact, breathing is purely the exchange of gases, oxygen and carbon dioxide to be precise. So the activity of inhalation and exhalation is breathing, whereas deriving energy from food molecules with the help of oxygen is respiration.
5.1 Aerobic Respiration. A. State the needs for energy and the role of respiration in living organisms. B. Outline the complete oxidation of glucose which involves glycolysis, Krebs cycle and oxidative phosphorylation.
Respiration is just breathing, right? Wrong. Respiration is the chemical process that supplies the body with energy for all other life processes. Growth and repair of cells, muscle contraction, protein synthesis, sending nerve impulses, absorbing molecules in active transport, to name just a few. It happens in all living cells, not just animal cells, but also plant cells. There are two types of respiration: aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic means with air, and so needs oxygen, whereas anaerobic respiration doesn't need oxygen. Let's start by looking at aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration releases energy in cells by breaking down food substances whilst in the presence of oxygen. It is represented by this simplified equation. But don't forget the energy which is released. Glucose is broken down by oxygen to release the byproducts of carbon dioxide and water. Energy is released, which is then used to make a special energy molecule called ATP. ATP is how energy is stored for later use by the body. Aerobic respiration happens all the time in all cells, usually in the mitochondria.
During cellular respiration, organisms break down nutrients in order to produce energy in the form of ATP. Let's take a closer look to see how this happens. If we zoom in on one of this bird's cells, we can see the mitochondria, where the majority of the reactions involved in cellular respiration occur. Let's zoom in further on a single mitochondrium. Cellular respiration consists of 4 primary stages. These are glycolysis, the preparatory reaction, the citric acid cycle, and the electron transport chain. The first stage, glycolysis, occurs in the cytoplasm outside of the mitochondria. During glycolysis, enzymes break down glucose into 2 molecules of pyruvate. During this process, 2 ATP are produced, and NADH is released to be used in a later step of cellular respiration. Stage 2 is the preparatory reaction. During this stage, the pyruvates of glycolysis move into the mitochondria, where they are converted into acetyl-CoA. During this conversion process, more NADH is produced and carbon dioxide is released. In stage 3, the citric acid cycle, the remaining carbons from the initial glucose are oxidized, releasing carbon dioxide. NADH and FADH2 are also produced, in addition to 2 ATP molecules. Most ATP production occurs in stage 4, the electron transport chain, or ETC. In this stage, the NADH and FADH2 from the previous stages give up electrons to the chain. Energy is released and captured as the electrons move from a higher energy to a lower energy state using a series of proteins embedded in the membranes of the mitochondrion. Later, this energy will be used for the production of ATP, typically 32 to 34 per initial glucose. Oxygen is used by the ETC as a terminal electron acceptor. It then combines with hydrogen ions to produce water.
Glycolysis. Glycolysis is splitting of sugar. It's occur in the cytoplasm. It's break down glucose into two molecules of pyruvate. Glycolysis occurs with or without oxygen. Has two major phases. 1. Energy investment phase. 2. ATP is used and phosphorylation of sugar is occur. 2. Energy payoff phase. 4. ATP is yielded in this phase. Net ATP yield for glycolysis is 2 ATP. It produces 2 NADH and 2 hydrogen ion and not released carbon dioxide. 10 steps of glycolysis. Phase 1. Energy investment phase.
Step 1.
Glucose undergoes phosphorylation to become glucose 6-phosphate. Catalyzed by enzyme hexokinase.
And ADP is used. Step 2. Glucose 6-phosphate is converted to its isomer, fructose 6-phosphate. Step 3. Fructose 6-phosphate undergoes phosphorylation to become fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. Catalyzed by phosphofructokinase, ATP is used. Step 4. Fructose 1,6-bisphosphate split into dihydroxyacetone phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Step 5. Dihydroxyacetone phosphate is converted into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Phase 2. Energy payoff phase. Step 6. Glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is oxidized and undergoes phosphorylation to become 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate. NADH is produced. Step 7. Phosphate group of 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate is removed to become 3-phosphoglycerate. ATP is produced by substrate-level phosphorylation. Step 8. Phosphate group of 3-phosphoglycerate is relocated to become 2-phosphoglycerate. Step 9. Water is removed from 2-phosphoglycerate to become phosphoenolpyruvate. Step 10. Phosphate group of phosphoenolpyruvate is removed to become pyruvate. ATP is produced by substrate-level phosphorylation. Summary of glycolysis. For 1 molecule of glucose, 2 ATP are used and 4 ATP produced. Net ADP production is 2 ATP. Product of glycolysis is 2 NADH, 2 ATP and 2 pyruvate.